You know, the digital age didn't just give us cat videos and instant everything. It also created this whole new kind of outlaw. We're talking about people who use keyboards, tiny cameras, and just pure nerve to take on some of the biggest systems on the planet. So, what do a coder, a chef, and a math prodigy have in common? I know, it sounds like the setup to a really weird joke, right? You've got this programmer who built one of the internet's most infamous sites, a chef who's on disability, and a teenage math whiz. What on earth could be the connection?
Well, it's this. They all hacked the system. Each one of them found a crack in the wall, a weak spot, and they pushed right through. But, and this is the important part, not always for the reasons you might think. Their stories really pull back the curtain on the messy, morally gray world we all live in now.
All right, first up, let's talk about the ideologues. These are the folks who aren't in it for the money. Nope, they're driven by an idea, a powerful belief. For them, information wasn't just data. It was something that had to be free, and they were more than willing to break a few laws to make that happen.
And you've got two perfect examples right here. On one side, you have the Pirate Bay, which basically declared all-out war on copyright laws so anyone could get movies and music. And on the other, you have Aaron Swartz, this brilliant programmer who went after the ridiculous paywalls that corporations put up around academic and scientific knowledge. Two totally different battlefields, but one shared mission: tear down the walls.
And this just sums up their whole attitude perfectly. The Pirate Bay wasn't just quietly breaking the rules, they were shouting from the rooftops, mocking the very institutions that made them. So when lawyers from a giant like DreamWorks sent them a legal threat, this was their response, just pure, unfiltered defiance.
And boy, were they tough to kill. The Swedish government, getting tons of pressure from Hollywood, sends in 53 armed cops to raid their servers. This was supposed to be the kill shot, right? Game over. Except, just 3 days later, the site flickers back to life, with a new logo, a pirate ship firing its cannons right at the Hollywood sign. They were basically unstoppable.
But the system doesn't always meet defiance with just frustration. Sometimes it brings down the hammer. And that brings us to this number: 35. Just let that sink in for a second. That's how many years the US government wanted to put the activist Aaron Swartz in prison for.
So what was his supposed crime? Did he steal state secrets? Hurt someone? No. He used the Open Computer Network at MIT to download 4.8 million academic articles from a private service called JSTOR. We're talking about research that was mostly paid for by us, the taxpayers. His goal was to make it public. And for that, the government wanted to throw away the key for longer than a lot of murderers serve.
Okay, now we're going to take a sharp turn. Let's move away from ideals and into something much, much darker. This is what happens when a hacker's genius isn't used to free information, but to build a global criminal empire fueled by pure profit and absolute terrifying control.
Just look at this timeline for a programmer named Paul LaRue. It's chillin'. He starts out as this brilliant guy creating free encryption software for everyone, a real open-source idealist. But then, something snaps. He builds a massive online pharmacy that floods America with painkillers. From there, he gets into sourcing meth from North Korea, smuggling gold, and then, believe it or not, ordering hits on people who crossed him like he was a CEO firing an employee.
The scale of what he built is just mind-boggling. That online pharmacy alone, it brought in hundreds of millions of dollars. This was not some small-time crook. This was a global logistics network for crime, all run by one guy with a laptop, and it generated at least $400 million in pure profit.
But look, not everyone who hacks the system is driven by big ideas or bottomless greed. For some people, it's just a tool. It's the only way they can see to survive, to escape a situation that seems absolutely impossible. These are the agents, hacking for their own lives.
Take a guy like Ulrich Larsen. He's an unemployed chef on disability in Denmark. Over 10 years, he goes deep undercover, using nothing but a hidden camera and his own guts, and he managed to expose North Korea's secret network for selling weapons. Or think about Ri Jong-yol, an 18-year-old math genius who realizes his government is about to force him into its army of state-sponsored hackers. His only shot at a different life is at a math competition overseas, and he takes it, defecting on the spot. For people like them, hacking the system isn't a choice. It's the only way out.
So, what happens when all these digital outlaws finally get caught in the spotlight? Well, when you poke a bear as big as a global corporation or the US government, sooner or later, that bear is going to poke back. And it does not mess around. A perfect example is the story of Aaron Barr. He was the CEO of a security company, and he made one huge mistake. He went on TV and promised to unmask the leaders of the hacker group Anonymous. Well, Anonymous responded with what you might call brutal efficiency. They found out he used the same silly password, Kibafo33, for absolutely everything. They didn't just hack him, they downloaded his entire company's email server, found plans to discredit journalists, and basically set his life on fire.
And the final insult? The financial ruin. His firm, which had government contracts and was once worth $15 million, was sold for parts, for $23,000. That's less than a minivan. The destruction was absolute.
The reckoning for Aaron Swartz was so much worse. It was a tragedy. He was relentlessly pursued by federal prosecutors who, it seems, just wanted to make an example of him. Facing a trial he couldn't possibly afford and a prison sentence that would have erased his entire future, he took his own life. He was only 26. And right on the heels of that tragedy, you have to hear this. Paul LaRue, the kingpin who ordered 7 confirmed murders, who ran a global drug and weapons empire, he was caught, but he made a deal. He started talking, helping the DEA take down the very network he built. And for all that, for ordering assassinations, he got a sentence of just 25 years.
So as you can see, when you step into this digital Wild West, the reasons people do things and what happens to them, it's all over the map. There are no simple good guys and bad guys here. Just a really, really blurry line.
Let's just break it down one more time. You've got the ideologue, like Swartz and the Pirate Bay, using code to set information free. You have the kingpin, Paul LaRue, using encryption and logistics to build an evil empire. And then you have the agent, like the chef and the math prodigy, just using deception and whatever chance they get to survive. 3 totally different kinds of outlaw, all born from the incredible power the technology now gives to a single person.
Which really leaves us with this one giant question. The guy who downloaded academic articles faced a fate far worse than the guy who ordered murders. A chef becomes a spy, a kid genius becomes a defector. In a world where a few lines of code can literally change the world, how do we even begin to decide who's a hero, who's a villain, and who's just a survivor? That line between them is a lot thinner than you might think.